Welcome back to Great Gadgets and Gear. Alright, here we go. This is going to be the chopping portion of the knives. So first up we have the Chicago Cutlery, and this is a smooth knife with no serrations. Next is the Zwilling Twin Gourmet, and this is made in Spain, and it has a purple rubber band on the handle so we can keep them separate. Then we have the J.A. Hinkle International, which is made in India with the blue rubber band. Then we have the Amarcu, that's right, with the nice pretty handle. And then last we have the Leaf and Sven with the real deep serrations. Okay, so I have limited time. I only have like 25 minutes to do this before my camera runs out, so I'm going to try and get this done. So we're going to start off with a little green pepper, and we're going to start off with the Chicago Cutlery knife. And once you break the skin, it cuts through very, very nice. And I have it flipped over like this because it's a little harder to cut this way. So we're trying to make this a little bit more difficult. And that actually went through very, very nice. This is the Zwilling, which is the most finely serrated knife on the block here. And it's not too bad, but with serrated you have to saw. This is the J.A. Zwilling International. Not too bad. So you see it goes through pretty good. The Amarcu. And the Sven. I'm going to say they're all pretty good here. All pretty similar on the green pepper. This is for my dinner, so I'm going to do another one flipping it up, and I'm going to do them a little thicker. Right through. Right through like butter. This is the Zwilling. Right through again like butter. The International. A little bit harder on the International. The Amarcu. That went through pretty nice. The Sven. Like butter. That went through very, very, very nicely. Very, very nicely. So far I'm going to say for the green pepper, the Chicago Cutlery went through like butter. The Sven went through like butter. I would have to say that the Gourmet did a next best job. In comparison with these two, the International gets hung up a little bit. I'm going to say the Amarcu does a better job than the International on the pepper. Okay, got to make room. Once you start cutting it, it really takes up the room, doesn't it? Okay, so that was a green pepper. Now we're going to try something hard. We're going to try an uncooked potato and the Chicago Cutlery. Right through. Right through like butter. The Zwilling Gourmet. You can see it's kind of going off to the side. So if you do a sawing motion, it takes a little more work. The International, they'll go right through, but they do have a tendency to want to go to the side. But they do both cut okay on the potato. The Amarcu. Goes through. This one requires a little bit more force so far than the rest. This Fen. Again, it's kind of wanting to pull to the side for some reason. Sawing motion, no problem. But I'm trying to do just a push motion. So on that, I'm going to have to go with, obviously the Chicago Cutlery went through it like butter. The Gourmet goes through, a little bit more pressure, a little bit more force needed than the Chicago Cutlery. The International actually is doing a better job on the potato than the Gourmet version, which I find interesting. The Marcu is going through very well. And this Fen, let's build that up a little more. Right through, like butter. So I would have to say on the potato, the Chicago Cutlery and the Fen are probably the top ones. I'm shocked, but the International is going through the potato better than the Gourmet. And I would say that the International is probably tied with the Marcu for the potato. So, that was just a test potato. We're going to get rid of that. Now we'll move on to something a little softer. Okay, tomato. Chicago Cutlery. Right through. Right through. Very nice. Which with a tough skin, it's a little bit harder. International. The Gourmet. Right through. No sawing motion. I'm just pushing down. The International's having a little bit tougher time with the tomato. The Marcu is going right through. I don't think it went through faster than Chicago Cutlery though. I think that one went through much faster than this Fen. It's kind of hard because the tomato is kind of smushed now. So it's kind of a hard judge for this Fen. So let's try this way. Yeah, it's going right through. Right through just with pushing it. It's kind of hard at the end because the tomato gets all wobbly. But Chicago Cutlery, right through like butter. All of these did pretty well, as you can see. The International did have a little bit of trouble with that. So there we have our tomato. Let me get something to put in there. Don't want to waste the tomatoes. Okay, now we're going to move to something a little bit harder again. We're going to move to an onion. See how it goes. And we're not going to use a sawing motion. We're just going to use a pressure motion. I'm going to start it off with the Chicago Cutlery because it seems to be doing amazingly well with the vegetables. Get the first layer of skin off here. Okay, so same thing we're going to run into with the onion that we did with the tomato when we get to the end. So I'm just going to run through with one push of each and then we'll try some other chopping. But the Chicago Cutlery, not a problem whatsoever, right through. The Zwilling wants to pull off to the side, so you could probably do some really fine shaving with this, but yeah, you can see it's really slipping off the side there. So we'll try a sawing motion with that in a minute. The International, same thing, it kind of wants to pull off to the side, but they are cutting through it. The Marcu, again, it wants to pull off to the side. Trying to put some opposite pressure on there, but it goes through rather nicely. The Sven, right through like butter. Right through like butter. That's very nice. Alright, now we're going to go back here. This is the Chicago Cutlery. Very nice. This is the Gourmet. Still wants to slip off to the side, so I'm going to have to put a little opposite pressure on it. But when it does go through, it goes through rather nicely. Let's try a little sawing motion. If you do a sawing motion, not a problem. I'm surprised the International is going right through it like butter. And that's not slipping off the side as much. So that's pretty impressive for the International, which is a cheaper knife. The Amarku, right through. Right through. Right through like butter. This is making it very hard for me to pick a knife. They are all doing pretty well. And then this Fen. Right through. Right through like butter. That is way more chopped up of an onion than I wanted, but I wanted to make sure I got a good view for you guys. I'm making Philly cheesesteaks, so I like them when they're a little bit thicker, but we'll make do with that for tonight. So, man, I hope this is not as confusing for you as it's getting for me, because this is starting to get confusing. They're actually all doing pretty well. Some subtle differences. I hope it's getting across on the camera. But I'm very impressed with the Chicago Cutlery for going up against these serrated knives. It's going through this stuff really, really well. So, and unfortunately, sorry, I'll have to do a follow-up video. I don't have any steak. I thought I bought a steak for this. I didn't. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to cut up some cooked chicken. Yeah, I'm multitasking, so that one got a little browner, so we'll have a browner version and a lighter version. So, got a few more minutes here. Alright, so, just pressing down with the Chicago Cutlery. It does go through it okay. A little not as smooth and quick as it did the rest. The Zwilling. Now, pressing down with these on meat is not going to work. I just wanted to do that so you could see. It almost cut all the way through it, but these are serrated knives. They're meant to be dragged through. So I'm putting the tip down on the cutting board and dragging through. I'm not sawing the meat. I'm dragging it through. That actually did very, very well on that chicken. Now the International, same thing, put the point down. This is it's cutting through. A little bit of a tear, not too bad though. The Marku, a little bit more of a tear. Okay, yeah, that one's definitely tearing more. So I would say that's not doing as well. And then the Sven. Again, more of a tearing. You know, it's kind of hard on the end piece, so let's try. Nope. Let's see here. Yeah, they don't work good for just the push down. It's got to be a sawing motion. Not too bad. I would say for the serrated, wow, this is interesting. The Marku didn't do too bad. The International is, I would say the International is actually better than the Marku on the meats. You're going to be a better judge of this, being able to watch and not talk and cut at the same time. I'm trying not to cut my fingers. I think it's kind of a tie, a toss-up between the two, the Zwilling and the International. I'm shocked. The the smooth-bladed Chicago Cutlery is just going right through this. Even the more burnt-end stuff, it's going right through it. That's really impressive. I'm impressed with that. So that should probably be a really good steak knife. Okay, so since we didn't have a steak, what we're going to do now is... good chicken. I'm going to try a raw piece of chicken and see how it cuts through that. So this way you have the cooked chicken and then the raw chicken. Rinse off my cutting board. And if you like this little paddle style cutting board, it's also an Amazon purchase, which most of mine are. And it's around 15 bucks. I liked it because I could hang it in my cabinet. And to keep your wood looking new and nice, just put a little of whatever your oil of choice is that you cook with. So that way it's food grade. You can use food grade mineral oil. You can use your virgin olive oil, your vegetable oils, canola oils, whatever you prefer. All right. So make sure I'm still in frame. All right, now we got our raw chicken. All this stuff was room temperature too. Nothing was in the refrigerator making it extra hard or anything. All room temperature. Okay, the chicken. And I am cutting against the grain, not with it. This was actually a little tough for the Chicago Cutlery knife. Now I'm going to do one swiping motion with the Zwilling and then a sawing motion. Okay, so it ain't working at all with the swipe, so we'll do sawing. And it went through that very well. Cut it very easily. The International, same thing, very easily. Marku, going through it, but not as easily. I'm actually surprised with this being a more expensive knife. Sven is doing quite well. Very well, actually. I think, and that was more of a pull through. And the Zwilling, the International, and the Gourmet require more of a sawing. The Sven went through on the pull. So I'm actually very impressed with that. But these are I'm surprised. These are actually very close in cutting ability. The twin Gourmet and the cheaper international version of the Tinkles. And it's not because I'm partial to the non-serrated, but that's for steak. I do like serrated knives. But this Chicago Cutlery was an excellent gift. If you could find this particular model number, it went through everything pretty much on this test with ease. Very, very sharp. You can resharpen it if you need to. So just threw that in there. As far as how I would rate these knives so far myself, I'm going to have to put the Marku with the fancy, pretty nice handle at the end. I think it struggled a little bit more than the other knives. I think the Sven did very well. And I think the Zwilling and the Hinkle, it's kind of a toss-up. I mean, on some things the Zwilling did a little bit better, and other things the International did a little bit better. So I guess you'll have to decide by what I chopped through on the video what is going to work better for you. So, I have the tough decision of what to keep. The Chicago Cutlery was a gift, so I'm keeping that. The International was also a gift, but the person who gifted it to me also needs knives. So I thought since they were nice enough to buy me a complete set of these and a partial set because I like the non-serrated, I'm going to give them the Internationals. So I need to come up with a steak knife. So out of 3 that I purchased, it's not going to be the Amarcu. I'm very surprised for $50. I don't think they cut as well. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of running out of time here, so I'm going to have to do a separate video if you want me to compare the serrations and stuff. Real quickly, this Fen is a thicker profile than any of these 3. The International is probably right along with the Amarcu, and pretty close. I'd say pretty close to this Fen. But the International, or the Gourmet has a very, very fine serration. And the International has a little bit thicker serration. Obviously, the Sven is the most chunkiest out of them all. The Amarcu is probably the closest in serration size to the International, but I did not like the way that it cut. So between, that one's going to be a gift. So between these 2, I'm stumped because I have to return one. Because I can't have all these expensive knives. I mean, these are relatively expensive, but because the Gourmets are $62. The Sven is $42, $43 with the block. This is the showcase, the wood showcase. And these were just on their own. But it's the cutting. I don't like the cutting of these, so I'm going to return those for sure. I'm torn between these 2. I wish I had a steak, and I think I'm going to have to get a steak and do a follow-up, maybe with the remaining knives, but the Amarcu is going to have to go back because I'm not caring for that. So yeah, I think we're going to have to do a bonus video, and we're going to have to get a steak, a nice big steak, a thick steak, and we're going to have to try this again with the remaining, I'm going to say 3 knives because, like I said, these I'm gifting to a friend, so I'm sorry I won't be able to include those in the next test. But the Chicago Cutlery, the Gourmet, and the Sven will be included in the steak. If I pick it up soon enough, maybe I can throw the International back in. But we're definitely going to have to test those out on a steak because it's a toss-up right now. And I'm really surprised, too, because this has got such a thick, heavy serration versus... And you're not going to be able to see because it is just so finite. How fine those serrations are in here versus how monstrous these ones are. And when I looked up serrated knives versus non-serrated knives, the purpose for the serrated knife as they're listed are for cutting softer stuff like crusty bread, and for meats. Now, Zwilling and the International both did advertise, though, that they do tend to tear through meats more than slice them. Because I know more of the most popular steakhouses around the country use non-serrated knives because they can keep them razor sharp. Oh, sorry, wrong one. Got them mixed up there. Again, it's personal preference. So we are going to try out the non-serrated and however remaining serrated knives I have up against a steak. But yeah, so this video just pretty much ruled out the Amarcu. I'm going to have to send that back one. I'm not happy with that one. So we'll see how the rest do. I'm really torn between the 2. And it has nothing to do with the presentation boxes or anything, just the performances of the knife. So I'm going to be very curious how they do on a fillet. Maybe I'll get a fillet and maybe a ribeye. And we'll try out the differences and see how they do. I hope this video helped you out a little bit. Questions, comments, some tips, something you'd like to see added to the video, please let me know down in the description and I'll see what I can do. Thanks for watching and good luck on your hunt for knives. I am also going to cover a video in a minute here with kind of comparing, if I can, as much as I can, the serrations and the handles and stuff like that, so you can get a better view, better idea. Okay? All right, thank you. Appreciate you sticking around. Bye.